Okay, I'm back in the workshop and I'm really eager to get going. I'm gonna start out with the seat post saddle and the seat post clamp, continue on with the headset and the handlebar. I will set the bottom bracket and then the drivetrain and brakes, the levers. When all that is in place, I will route and connect the wires. I will finalize the build by assembling the wheels and mounting them to the bike, and then in the end trim and tune the gears and the brakes. Okay, let's get going with the reverse seat clamp. So let's just put it on there. Something like that, and then the pre-mounted seat post goes into something like that. Okay, looks good. Regularly I would probably use some carbon paste here, but since this is a regular aluminum frame, I don't think that will be necessary. Okay, let's get going with the headset. I will use the fork, of course. I have a little spacer on there. Then we will take the bottom bearing that I cleaned and greased up really well, putting on there. Then we have the top bearings, some spacers here, also cleaned and lubed, so it fits well in there. Oh no, damn it. And then the stem. I don't tighten them too much at the moment. This is just a temporary installation, so. And 5mm Allen key on the top. We take the handlebar and put it in there. And we just tied it with one screw here first. This is tricky. Here we go. Something like that. Okay, we will of course adjust this later on and we know exactly how we want it, but something like that looks good. Okay, let's continue on with the bottom bracket. I have this derailleur. It's a threaded BSA bottom bracket, and for this I have this special bottom bracket tool. Let's put it in there. They both go the same way. Okay, here we go. So let's put the tool on there. Something like that. And we tighten the other side as well. Looks good. Okay, it's time to mount the rear derailleur. It's simply mounted with this 5mm Allen key onto the hanger here. Okay, next up we're gonna mount the cranks. We simply take this side. We push it through here. It's a little bit tight. Here we go. A little bang there. Of course, no need to tell, but the crank arms need to be exactly the opposite side of each other. They're supposed to be fitting only in one way, so if you can get it on there, it's probably right. Make sure it's nice and tight. Let's just tighten them until we get a little bit of resistance. I'm gonna tighten these a little bit more, and then a final tight. Then the final top cap, and for that we need this special tool. You just screw it in there. And there we go. The cranks are in place. Now the final part of assembling the drivetrain is of course mounting the chain, but since I have not assembled the wheels yet and I need the rear cassette to do this, I will wait until everything is mounted. Okay, it's time to mount the brakes. I will begin with the adapter since these are post mount and the frame is flat mount. Okay, so they're both now mounted to the adapters. This one is for the rear and this one's for the front. I haven't tightened them too much yet because when we adjust the brakes and the final adjustments, we will loosen these bolts to adjust them a little bit. So I will now mount the rear brake caliper. So that's the rear brake. Okay, I'm gonna continue now with the front caliper, but I realized the mistake with mounting the adapter first because I can't reach the bolt when it's in there, so I'm simply gonna have to disassemble it again and put the caliper back onto the adapter later on. And then we mount the brake caliper. Okay, so the brakes are in place. Okay, I will now mount the levers. Let's start out. We just simply put it on here, pull it out as much as possible, and slide it on there. Now again, we will not adjust these perfectly just yet, so let's just mount them on there so that they're in place. And then the other one. And they're in place. Okay, new day, new t-shirt, blue t-shirt day. Yeah, anyway, today I'm gonna route the cables, insert them into the brake and shifting levers, then connect them to the rear derailleur and the rear brake. Okay, so I'm gonna start out with the shifting cable and I'm gonna route it through here to there. Once the housing is in place, then it's easy to just thread the actual braking wire through and we will connect it to the levers. So let's get going. Okay, I decided not to make this more complicated than necessary, so I simply removed the crankset because it's too much in the way for me when I'm gonna do this guiding here. Okay, so that's the shifter cable routed through. Okay, so it's time to route the brake housing, and I'm now gonna use this wire that I have pre-installed here, and I'm gonna try to attach it to the housing and then simply try to pull it through and get it out down there. So I'm just gonna wrap it around the housing like this, and I hope that will make it possible to get it through here. A bit tight, but yeah, it seems to work. See it? And there it goes. Nice. Okay, we're through. Okay, so I'm now gonna route the cables and I'm gonna start with the braking outer. Now I'm gonna connect it here. This one has this little top on it, but it's not gonna fit in there. So I'm simply gonna remove that. Then I simply stuff it in there. Something like that. Here, and I'm gonna measure so that the length is all right at the extremes, which seems to be fine. And then I'm gonna continue down here. I will route it. I'm gonna use these zip ties, just temporary, to hold it together. So once the zip ties are in place, I do push this one back a little bit because if you make the housing too short, you won't get any braking power. So make sure you don't cut this one too short. If you cut it too long, it's not the whole world. You can always shorten it. If you cut it too short, you can't undo it. And we make a nice cut there. And then we see that we can fit that one into the screw. So something like that. I'm not gonna take the braking wire. This is the end that we're gonna use. This one is useless for us, so we're gonna cut that one away. Something like that. And then we're gonna route it into the housing. We have a little guider here in front and we will simply push it in there. Okay, here we go. And there it goes. So let's pull it through. So we push it through all the way into the end. We pull it in the back so that it's nice and tight. Then we can close it there. We're now done at the front and we will simply connect it to the back, but we're not gonna do that just yet. Okay, I'm now gonna route the front cable as well. This is a little easier procedure since I don't have any internal routing here. I'm gonna start out with connecting this one to the brake lever, same way as I did with the rear brake. I will push it into place and then I will take it the way I will have it once the bar tape is on, and then I will route it down. Okay, I now have the housing in place, and since this one is up front and it's gonna follow the steering like this, it's not that big a deal with the length. So we don't want it too long, but we don't want it too short either. I'm gonna cut it something like that. Fit nice in there. When you cut these, you can have little pointy sharp edges here, and they might actually damage the wire once they are in place. What I'm going to do is use this file and this little pick to open up the channel for the wire and remove any sharp edges here so that it doesn't damage the wire. So, something like that. Okay, same procedure here. And there he goes. Pull it all the way through. Just pulling the lever a bit just to make sure that it's tight and nice. And then we're done. I'm now gonna connect the wire to the caliper, and I will simply put it on in there, and I will tighten this screw. Make sure that the cable is correctly routed all the time. Now I will cut the wire, but I'm gonna cut it very long so that we have a lot of space to work with here. Then when we trim the cables and the brakes, we can cut it down to the length that we want it. So I'm gonna give this one an extra 20-25 centimeters, something like that. And now we can try out the brake, and we can see that it's moving very nicely here, and this will brake perfectly once we are out on the road. I will now insert the rear brake cable into the brake caliper. Tighten this one, something like that. Try out the brake lever, and it brakes nicely. So the brakes are installed, the housing and the routing is done, and what's left is simply to trim them once the wheels are in place. It's time to measure out and route the shift housing, and the shift housing goes in here. Here I will actually keep this end plug. Again, I will make sure that the wire is not disturbed by even at the extremes positions. Seems to work fine. And then we continue out back. We have the housing, and we will route it through this little holder here. Make sure you don't pull it too much so that you change the amount of cable you have up front. Before you start here, make sure that you pull this one on the right side of the derailleur hanger, because if you route it on the inside, once the wheel is in place, it will disturb with the cassette and everything, and it will end up in the wheel. So very important that you route it on the right side. And then we don't want it too long, and we don't want it too short. We want a nice bow here to have it out back, something like that probably. Actually, very nice cut, and it goes in there. So that's the housing in place for the shifter. Okay, we're now gonna route the shift cable, and as you can see, the housing goes in here, but we're actually gonna thread it through from this side. So that's the hole that we're gonna thread it in through. And to do this, you have to shift this one to the highest gear, to the smallest cog, because or else you won't be able to fit the cable in. So let's see if we can find the hole, something like that. It goes through, and you then can see the cable coming through here. We will then continue it into the housing here like this, something like that, and we continue to push it, and we're pushing it, and voila, here it goes. And I can feel that the lever is pulling cable the way it should, and it releases as well. So that's the cable routing for the gears. Now that the wire is in place, we're gonna attach it to the rear derailleur, and it's got a 4mm Allen key on the bottom here. So we'll simply release that one, and we're gonna thread the cable through. We'll make sure that it's in there. So there we go. Let's try it out. The mech moves really nice, just the way we want it to. Now, I will shorten the outer a little bit very soon, but I will keep it like that until further. Okay, so the cables are routed, the cranks are back in place, and well, the bike is getting closer and closer to finalizing this project. And now I'm gonna head over to the wheels, so let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna start out with mounting the rotors. You do wanna pay attention to the rotation, so it's quite easy, because if you have these logos and the arrows out, then it will fit. We have a bolt and a washer for each of those screws. Now, once all the bolts are in place, I will tighten them on opposite sides like this, and I won't tighten them too much. I will go several laps to do so, just to make sure that we don't get any uneven torque on the rotor, so we get it completely straight and nice. And that's it. I will now continue on with the next one. Okay, so I'm simply gonna screw this one in as well. This takes too much time. Now, jokes to the side, I of course only use the power tool to screw them in and not to tighten them. That's pretty much it. Let's continue on with the cassette. Some kind of Shimano copy probably. We'll see how long it lasts. And I have these two washers here that I'm gonna put in here first. I know I need them because this is a 10 and 11 speed hub, so I'm gonna need that one there. And then I will simply find the spline that is a little bit thinner than the others, and I will simply put it in place like that. And then the cassette tool to tighten. Good. Something like that. It's time to mount the tires and the inner tubes, so let's go. Let's pay attention to the rotation direction of the tires, and the wheel will spin like this, that way around. So let's line up the valves and the logos like this. Now, Continental tires are not famous for being particularly easy to put on. This will probably live up to the reputation. Damn it. Continental. Warum? Why do you make these tires so tight? It's nearly impossible to get them on. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Jesus. Let's hope we did not pinch the inner tube. Let's see if we can get some air in there. Let's open the valve first. Beautiful. So that's the wheels. It's gonna be great fun to mount them. Let's go. Okay, we're gonna mount the wheels. Therefore, I will bring out the skewers. Let's hope they fit. This is gonna be great. Okay, and the back wheel. Okay, the wheels are in place. Looking good. Okay, new day, red t-shirt day. Final day of assembling. So we're gonna continue to trim the wheels. We're gonna shorten this one, trim the brakes, gearing of course. So let's get going. I'm not gonna cut this one, it's a little bit too long, so nice and easy. Put it back in there. Here it goes. Okay, great. Then we have cut that one. Okay, I'm now gonna install the chain. To do so, I have moved the rear derailleur to the smallest sprocket just to get it out of our ways. And then I'm just gonna open this package up. Now I have these quick links. I'm gonna move them to the side a little bit. What I will use now is a chain breaker, and then I will use this chain tool. What we're gonna do now is wrap the chain around the largest sprocket in the back and the front, of course. And I will make sure that I wrap it all the way around. I will bypass the rear derailleur and I will continue on all the way around to here. What I will do now is that I will count, and then we have 1, 2, 3, a fourth. I'm gonna mark this one. That's the one where I will cut. We simply take the chain tool. Now we push out that rivet. And now we're gonna guide it through the rear derailleur, and then we will simply join it by the quick link. And the chain is in place. While I'm down here, I'm gonna replace the zip ties with these original little clamps that are supposed to be used instead of these ugly zip ties. So I'm just gonna... I'm also gonna install this chain stay protection here. Something like that. Okay, I'm now gonna adjust the rear brake. That should give us quite a good grip. Once we're done with the tuning of the rear brake, I will simply cut the cable with the cable cutter. And I will take this top hat and simply just give it a good squeeze with the pliers like that. Nice. I will now simply do the same thing with the front brake and tune that one into perfectness, because right now it's really rubbing out. Okay, I'm now gonna index the gears. I'm not gonna take that into the video because that takes a lot of time, and I will just be back in a second. Okay, the indexing is done, and I'm now just gonna cut the shifting cable like that. And again, we put this little end cap and we pinch it. It's tight with the pliers. One thing left, and that is to wrap the whole thing up with the handlebar tape. And now I'm gonna wrap the handlebar, but I will start off with changing this temporary tape. Then I will bring out the handlebar tape. Like that. And I continue on with the second. And there it is. Okay, the gravel bike is done and I'm really excited. It's been great fun doing this and the result turned out great. I'm gonna finish the video with some still pictures of the bike so that you get to see some details. If you like the video, give it a good thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiration and projects. I'll see you in my next video. Cheers!